What's up, AfterBuzzers? Welcome to the Masters of Sex After Show. We're talking Season 4, Episode 5, and Guy is in the house.
What? His name is Guy.
Tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Oh, so suave.
This is a good one.
Classing it up.
It is.
There's a high five.
There's
I'm with you. I appreciate the song choice. It is.
You guys gotta be loving our mix that we got.
I don't know how well this mixes with our Masters of Sex
It's gonna be
playlist.
so This is what you ended with.
Yeah, this is the end.
Is it?
Climax.
We're talking Episode 5 today, but we might as well be talking the finale because that's what it seems like to me. But welcome to our show, everybody. I'm your lead host, Olivia Gabaree, and you can find me at @real_O_G.
OG. You guys know I'm your favorite host, Domonique Price. You guys can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at DomoniqueP_ESQ. Tonight's gonna be fun.
And I'm Ryann Graham. I'm also one of your hosts. I guess not your favorite or lead host, but I'm here today too. And you can follow me on Twitter at Ryan with 2 N's Graham. Awesome. And we have a special guest in the house. Guy is in the house.
Guy's real name is actually Nick, but where can we find you at on social media?
I'm at Twitter and Instagram at the Nick Clifford.
Hey,
follow
him up.
Not the Nick Clifford.
Not the.
Yeah, we had a little bit of Apparently, I don't understand English very well.
Okay.
But anyways, welcome to our after show. We're so happy to have you. Nick is here with us, but you guys might know him as Guy, better known as Guy. We're not really sure what your real name is.
We get it sooner or later.
Right.
Yeah. So, thank you for watching that episode with us. It was kind of cool to, be with someone and then see them on the television simultaneously.
It's like witchcraft.
Really
I was like, how did you do this?
No, but do you want to start off the show with just telling us a little bit about your character?
Sure. Like this episode was a pretty big episode to learn some of the backstory of him. He was in the Vietnam War. He was there for 6 weeks, and then he got discharged for being gay, which they wouldn't actually say, but they would issue these like blue slips to soldiers, and they just like kick him out. And like a lot of the soldiers, he just had an impossible time getting a job because everyone kind of knew that was on your record. They understood. And so he's playing these like side gigs, doing little piano gigs and here and there, and that's how he meets Betty, and then she brings him back to the clinic and realizes that he can answer phones. And he's got a little bit of sass just like her. And he's just like a sweet kid, and he's just like come into this world of like open sexuality, and it's the first time ever that he's realized you can be who you feel like you are inside, outside, and no one's gonna judge you for it. And that I think informs almost everything that happens for him on this show, is that he's found his mecca in this place and in these people. So.
Okay, so I'm gonna jump in with my first question
ask your
because I'm like, I'm ready.
Let me in.
So, do we see a love interest in your future?
I think that he is.
Just spill it. Spill all the beans.
You know what? It makes me think of how I would only get the episodes like a week before we would shoot them. So I'd get the script and that was actually how I also learned that I was still in the show. I didn't know.
No blue slip for you.
Like when they came on for when they brought me on, it was like 2 episodes, and I was gonna do 2, and then it would be like, let's see, episode
we
6.
like you.
All right, okay.
Keep them coming.
But every time I got it, I was like, is this the one where there's a sex scene? Like, is this the one where page 17
That's
is?
what I was gonna ask.
Okay.
I don't wanna like spoil anything, but he stays pretty innocent for this season, at least in this one.
I mean, because everybody has sex on this show.
Yeah.
Although there's a lot less sex, I think, in this
season for
yes.
sure. I mean, not for Libby, but for other people, apparently this is a slow sex.
The tables have turned a little bit.
It's no more drought season for Libby.
Well, you'll see that there's a very interesting sort of a couple of storylines around homosexuality in this season, and it becomes like Guy plays a particular role, and another character comes back from earlier seasons and you kind of see him.
I was gonna ask. I was wondering because I was like, I feel like we've had gay characters on the show before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We still have Betty and Helen, but gay male characters, and I feel like that they've kind of gone away, and it's nice to have Guy back. So I was going to ask it.
And that's why I'm excited, because I don't know who you're saying bring back, but I'm hoping it's Barton, because I would just love to find the contrast between someone who came out very later on in his life and then your character is a little bit more younger, and so I would love to just kind of feel those dynamics, because I feel like you guys kind of like are living the same life but totally in different paths.
Totally.
And so like I would love to get that.
I mean, the time period between when he would have realized it and when Guy realized it, you know, it just in terms, I mean, considering that we're like around late 1960s in this time period, you know, like right around the end of the 60s, you get Stonewall riots, you get like the first time that it makes national news about that lifestyle and about people being proud of it. But like even at this point, no, we don't have that. And I found it so interesting trying to get myself into this time period because my instincts were all wrong. You know, I would think like, oh, like, of course, like this is, you know, there was a sense of community and there was nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, like there was no place where you could go. There wasn't even a place where you could go to be like, oh, that's the kind of, you know, gay lifestyle I want to have. Like they didn't even know what it was like.
There was not even a quote unquote normal gay lifestyle.
There was no,
it was all very hidden.
And that's why
hush-hush.
it's really interesting in this episode that there's a whole speech about sexual deviation because I think that that's speaking to a larger trend in the story of the show, is that they're trying to go more towards like, where are all the weirdness and how do we see the humanity in all of those, and realize that in fact every single person brings their own unique set of circumstance. There isn't some norm that we're all trying to like go, you know, make our own lifestyle choice. So
everybody is a deviant in some way, shape, or form.
I know we haven't even begun to break down tonight's episode, but I loved Bill's speech.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
It was like we all are at the end of the day a little like off the normal path, and I think the more we begin to just like own that, we'll be in a better society.
Sure. But I think, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, I think the crazy thing about it was that as soon as he tried to put it on a public platform,
they were like,
shut down.
I was very angry with the judge.
Yeah.
Like,
it seemed weird, right? Because he seemed so like, wait, have you thought this through? Like, do you know how much it will affect your career? And he was like, no, I'm okay with it. And then like in the public, he's like, now shut up.
It's frustrating because I feel like it goes back to the same point. It's like, I don't want to applaud you in public for what you're willing to like stand up and say, you know, but in private I totally agree with you. It's like, it's really frustrating. But
I think that's kind of like a common trend within the show, because they're dealing with such like new concepts of that time, and no one really knows how to react or how other people will react to their reaction. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know.
Plus, it's all very taboo. I feel like sex, even to this day, is like it's a very touchy issue. Like everyone wants to dance around.
And it's kind of hard to put it into perspective, because knowing that about this time period, I can't even imagine what it was like at that time. You know, is there specific research that you had to do before coming into this character?
I really wanted to understand the specific time period that we were in, because this show spans such a long period of time, and they do sort of make an effort at delineating like what time period are we in about, and what's true about that time period. And even when you go back and watch season 1, the 50s are so much different from the 60s, just in terms of the little things. So I watched a lot of like honestly a lot of YouTube documentaries about like this time period, because they were like way less polished, and they were just like people would have like, you know, random interviews with people. I watched a lot of stuff on the Stonewall riots, even though that's like after it helped me understand like where people were at before that change happened for them, and before gay pride started as a movement in New York, and coming you know, like you'd have these people say like, you know, in the years before that happened, I was just basically sitting at home kind of like dreaming about what it would be like to actually be able to be my own self, and I had no one to look to as a role model, and every single person who loved me didn't know this about me, and you know, all that helped me realize that if the moment someone got this gift of like, here's a place where not only are they accepting you for who you are, but they're studying it, like they want to understand it. It's actually a academic, rigor to understanding this, like that lends a level of respect to that lifestyle, and it creates this immense sense of urgency to want to be there and be a part of it. And if you miss it, you're gonna miss your life, So I watched a lot of that. I watched the 60s Netflix documentary, which is great. It's like a 10-part.
I think I would love
Yeah,
something. I would love to watch that.
It's great, and it's also strange because while I was also getting into character for this, I was also kind of reminiscing on where the country was like at that time period, and specifically thinking like, wow, it's like a lot of things are very similar in a strange way. So but yeah, it was really helpful to just kind of see these really personalized interviews with people and see their pain and also see their joy for like the fact that it isn't true for them anymore in a beautiful way. And I just wanted to lend credence to that experience for them.
Cool. Well, I think that's a good segue into the episode. Do you guys mind starting with Helen and Betty's plot line?
Yeah.
So we actually
made me sad.
Yeah, we see how Helen and Betty were both a victim of this. Helen's parents aren't really accepting of her relationship and her situation, and she knew that they weren't going to be accepting from the beginning.
Well, it's like they're not even completely clued in at the beginning of this episode. Like later, it comes out that she is officially with Betty, and I feel like that's something that keeps coming up in this. It's about kind of hiding your true self. I feel like so much of this episode specifically in the show is about trying to figure out who you are and like sharing that with the world, and then it's scary to do that because you can be hurt. And so we see two people. So Helen shares with her family, and then they are like not talking to her anymore. And then we hear a story about Bill, and this will be talked about later, but him opening up to another woman and then getting his heart broken that way. So I feel like it speaks to how scary it really is to honestly be yourself at any time in life. Like no matter how late in life or how early in life, it's hard to truly be an authentic person and be vulnerable. So I think that it's sad to see kind of Betty and Helen struggling with like, yeah, we love each other, we want to be together, we want to be this public relationship, but we also know that there's so much struggle with that, and there's the fear of the unknown.
And I think to add to it, what's tricky about it is the fact that Betty is like already living that life.
Right.
She's like
She's
already
out.
like, this is me,
done.
like this is who I am, like I've accepted it, and she's looking at the person that she loves and going, I need you to be where I am, like why can't you be happy? And I think that Helen, rightfully so, as we see in the episode, says, but if I do that, I lose my parents, and how do I choose you here, like who's my real family, and then why do I have to pick? What if we just don't talk about it? Doesn't that give me both? And really it kind of gives you neither.
You never yourself with anything.
And that's what I think this episode is trying to teach in that storyline is like you have to take a chance, and like people will have judgments about you, but the truth is they already have them. They're just not saying them because you haven't given them enough. Like the same thing with Bob Dragg's character too, right? Until you know the truth about this person, everybody has their assumptions.
Right.
But once the assumptions become leveled, you can defend yourself if you're being honest. And I think that like that's why Helen is happy at the end of it in a way, because she's like, oh, now I know who my true family is because they accept me. And then I can actually go forward and have this real life with this baby.
And I feel like that's like got to be one of the most difficult things. Like, I guess like I was fortunate enough when I came out to my parents, like they were very loving and supportive. But I can imagine, and I know people who like that experience was not the same.
Yeah.
And it's like because you want your family who's loved you for X amount of years to continue to love you, and like in the perfect world they do, but all too often that doesn't happen, and it's hard to go from, oh, you loved me so long, and now this one like, piece of and it's like this one it's not even something you didn't know, it's just that we kind of labeled it because it's I mean maybe this is not true, but I feel like parents always know like it's
you
just,
have to know.
Your parents know, so it's just one of those things where it's like you get past thoughts and your opinion and you get to labeling something, and it's so weird how a label can completely change a relationship. So it was sad to see that happen to Helen, but you get to pick your family in life. Sometimes you really do. You have a birth family, obviously, but a lot of times you end up picking your own individual family, and that's where Betty's coming in. It's like, I'm here, and we have the baby, and we are a family.
However, I do feel like Betty shouldn't have maybe pushed the issue so hard in this particular episode. I feel like that's such a, I've never been there, but I can imagine that that's a really like big step to take. And I feel like you kind of have to do it on your own and for yourself. And I think, we see Helen saying, like, I took your advice. I said exactly what you told me to do. And I did not get the result that, you told me I would get. And I feel like you're now putting that on someone else.
Well, that's the danger, right? Is then, like, once you go, like, no, do it. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Then that person can just blame you for everything that happens, even though it has nothing to do with you. But if you're not ready to get the feedback from your family, then maybe waiting is the right move. But I feel like at the end of the day, anyone who's gone through would be like, I wouldn't want to wait. Like, why would I wait?
Well, and at the end,
they're bringing in a child into the situation, which changes the dynamic completely. It's like, I'm going to be a part of this child's life. I'm going to be one of their parents. I don't want to feel like I'm the neighbor.
Yeah, I don't want to hide every time you're
she definitely made a good point.
But I don't know. I just think this show is so, one of the reasons why I love it so much is because it's willing to kind of push the envelope to talk about the things that I feel like so often we don't, that are taboo. And I think I always say this, that I love the episode titles because they're so perfect. And I think, like, I'm like, does everyone know what an outlier is? Like, it's so profound, like, that they decided to name. It's
funny that they often, like, come up with the episode title at the end, like, when we're sort of,
Whoa.
like, they're working on it. Like, they're trying to figure out. Like, for the finale, we didn't have an episode title until we were basically done. Because there's a lot of rewriting that goes into the show. Every single scene, we'll get, as cast members, we'll get rewrites even if we're not in the scene, because we'll just want to have the most up-to-date script, right? And I'm getting emails like 5 times in a week being like, new script, and there's dozens of new pages, and you realize that, like, the theme of each episode is so important to them, and it's sort of like the title like finally encapsulates it, and once they find that title, it can only be found when they've really ironed out every kink, and then they're like, oh, that's what it is, like it's about being an outlier, and that we're all outliers in some way.
That's awesome.
I mean, here especially, we're always like giving props to the writers, because we just we can't even believe how all of the different plot lines just end up twisting together. It's crazy. And the fact that they're rewriting them all the time, I almost wonder like what the other versions look like.
Right? Can I see those? Can you forward those over to me?
Okay, so like a good example of a rewrite that happened, which I just like a funny little moment, is when Virginia's talking to Bob Drag, and she says, we just met with Simon and Schuster, and like, they really loved it, and Bob Drag says, did you meet with Simon or Schuster? And she says, Bob Simon's been dead for 10 years. Nice try. Originally, that was her going both. And he said, Bob Simon's been dead for 10 years. She goes, oh. And I know that Lizzy in that moment argued for Virginia's intelligence.
Yeah,
so she would know.
She
would know that, right? So they still get the same joke in, but they're like slowly honing it into what makes more sense.
I think that's awesome of Lizzy to like call that, because that is so true. Virginia is very calculated, and I feel like that sounds so negative, but she is. She's very.
But she's a hustler too.
I
mean, where she came from.
So she would definitely not come in and not be like.
Exactly.
And I gave her so much props in that moment. Like, I loved that she said that, and I probably wouldn't have enjoyed the scene as much if it went the other way. I would have been like, come on.
Because she's not dumb.
No, she is not.
She always knows what she's trying to do.
That served her right, you know?
Wow, that's really cool to know that happens on the fly. And it's just,
I mean, they really, like, everyone on that show fights for the reality of their character. I think it's an inevitable thing that happens in television, where you have new writers and new directors all the time coming in and kind of crafting this individual like message for this one episode, and the only person who's the through line for the character is the actor. So like at some points you just feel like, no, you know what, I have to say something, because it just doesn't sit right with me if this is what I'm saying, because it tells me, like in the earlier episode, the episode previous where I was singing with Betty, they wanted her to sing in a perfect like pitch Broadway voice. They were like, why don't you just do it perfectly? And she was like, but I'm not a good singer on the show. Annalie is an amazing singer in real life, but on the show she has a terrible voice, and so they made us do it both ways. So we have 2 cuts, one with her singing perfectly, and one with her not. And she was like, if you use the one where I'm singing well. I'm gonna be so upset. She would like constantly like mess up the take because she just didn't want it to really work, you know?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like they trust that about those actors, especially the main cast. Like when they stand up for something, it's
like, okay.
it's the
Because who knows the characters better than
Right.
them? Like they live in that skin, so
they know
they're gonna know what choices to make.
Yeah,
That's
I love
really
that.
cool.
yeah.
So have you had to make any character choices for Guy? Were you the reason that we say Guy instead of Guy?
I know. Why'd you make that choice?
That was from the get-go. It was funny too because like you know, whenever we do like table reads, they put your like little card with your name and then underneath just says Guy. You know, so people would always think that I'm just playing some random guy episode, you know, and then for a while like people would mispronounce it and they get corrected. It was sort of like this little like funny little shtick thing that happened. I think the only thing that I needed to stand up for, and I think it was almost more of a performance thing than it was a writing thing, but I just really wanted to make sure that the primary function of Guy wasn't to make like gay jokes, you know. It wasn't to be like.
Yeah.
I just knew that, and I'm not gay, so I was doubly aware of portraying a stereotype in some respects. And his character is like comic relief, but I wanted him to be grounded the same way that Betty was. So anytime we shot a scene where I had, the joke of the scene, I would always come to the directors afterwards and be like, guys, tell me if it's too big, if it's too flamboyant, just tell me, because I want to be at the emotional level that everyone else is.
Right.
I don't want to like, fly off the rail, because they dress me in these like bright colors. You'll see like bright colors, and,
the tie today
pink on
was a
pink.
little much.
It's so much more. There was a couple of times where I would come in and be like, okay, ready for this scene, and the director would be like, oh no, god damn it, he's wearing this. Oh my god, I can't have it. He's like we have this one director, Michael Apted, who's this super dry like British director, and he would just always be like, it's gonna ruin the entire shot. It's gonna be the background, this pink blob just wandering around, and he would just be like, make him change it, and so he would just send me back and change me out of it. So, but that was the thing I really wanted to fight for, was the reality of that character, and that it wasn't this single character trait that he had, but that it was this world he lived in.
I think that's so cool to see, especially in television today. I feel like characters who so easily could become a stereotype, especially when it's like a comedic relief thing. Like all too often you see gay characters and it's like, that is the role. Like, it's like you're the gay character and you are like,
to be funny.
That's your only purpose.
Like you are, and not a knock at Titus Burgess, because I love Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. I love his character, but like that is an over the top gay character,
right.
and he does it well, and it's very funny, and it fits for that show because that show kind of is comical. But like, there are sometimes when characters like that will end up in a serious setting, and it's like that doesn't make sense.
It's like a discordant note in your ear.
But
where
I feel
you're
like
just
it happens so often than not. Like, I get really, really frustrated when you see like an overzealous black woman on a TV show. I'm like, we're not all like that. I love that. And that's one of the things that I love about Masters of Sex. Like, they're willing to kind of show you the full person and the full package. And I think we've definitely seen that with Betty. We've seen that with Barton, and I'm really excited to kind of see more of Guy, because that's what
Guy
his name is.
We talked a lot about it, where I thought like he knows that it's Guy,
right? Yeah, I'm saying,
but it's Guy.
I'm waiting for the underlying
He was
story.
Guy when he was in the closet.
I'm saying,
Guy when he's out.
What happened?
To him, it's a really important part of his identity, right? It's like
now it's Guy.
Right.
It was Guy.
Yeah. We had a joke on set where there's one thing where he needed to sign something, and we were like, what's Guy's last name? Like, we don't know. Like, we just never gave it to him, and so we came up that his name was Guy Smith, but he pronounced it Guy Smythe. And that's like his new name. So yeah, he's all about
like that better.
I like it. No, that's good. It sounds classy. It's like, it's Guy Smythe. I like it. That's awesome.
So, getting back to the episode, as we saw, Betty kind of pushed Helen to, come out of the closet and just kind of admit everything, but we still have a character that's not willing to tell the truth, and Bob Drag is kind of just going on with the lies with Virginia by his side, because that's her shit.
That's what she does.
That's her thing.
And it's so sad to see her continue to enable people to do these things. Like, you think by this point
she's the queen of it, so why would she not
I'm just like,
help
Virginia,
others?
come on, when has lying ever helped you out? When is this not, like, I feel like every time she lies or helps someone lie, it comes back to bite her in the ass. So I just, like, I know why, but I just want her to be like, no,
we're wrong today because this did not bite her in the ass. This was a good lie.
Well, I mean, yes, it is definitely a bite to you.
I think this was a golden lie.
Okay.
I think we will give her the one-off white lie. I think was actually beneficial. This doesn't happen for her character often, so I think we should be happy for this moment.
I give her props only because this lie doesn't only benefit herself; it also benefits another person.
And it was hilarious.
And it was funny.
It was very funny. That's true.
But you know.
So what do you guys think is the lie covering up for Bob Drag? Like,
just embellishing the fact that he participated in the study when we know that he didn't, in fact, participate in the study. Yeah.
So there's he's around a lot for this season. So there's some interesting stuff with him.
And
I mean, we can go ahead and put him into a sex study so that it makes sense and it won't be a lie.
Yeah. And he's doing.
Oh, are you telling us that he goes in it? I'm kidding. I like is that
okay. No, did you just say that?
Oh my god! What is this? Are you dropping subliminal messages in?
Lightly suggesting.
I wonder what his fetish will be, because I feel like this whole season is going to be about fetishes.
Yeah, for sure. I think they started really nicely with the foot
I loved it. It was so.
Yeah,
I was like, what a great study.
But that's so funny that's kind of what, like, as soon as she mentioned the whole entire shoe fetish, like, that's what got him.
Yeah,
he was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, I guess you could be my date.
It's a shame that you wore that.
So I'm waiting to hear like what his fetish is.
Yeah.
You'll see. Okay, so it is coming. Good.
So he has one.
Yeah, we should take bets on his fetish.
We totally should take bets on his fetish.
So another person suffering from a lie we see right from the jump. I mean, everybody just loves to lie.
I thought you were gonna just be like another person suffering on the show.
Everybody's suffering and everybody's lying, but Art especially is caught up in his own little lie, because we see that he was lying to Nancy about having sex with Virginia, and Virginia caught him in that lie, and the tables are turned. Now she's finally the victim of a lie, and we see the conversation between she and Art, and it kind of seemed like it was Art throwing the fact that she spilled the beans about Bill and her, like, I can't really tell who Art is. I can't tell if he's genuine or he's like just playing the cards right.
Well, because he's a psychiatrist.
Exactly.
So he's so hard to read.
Yeah. And especially with the glasses, there's like this added like glare over his eyes.
Just like you
can't
never
even
know.
see your eyes, man. Eyes.
And that's what he confuses me, because to me, I'm like, why lie to Nancy about them having sex? What angle is that playing? Like, because I guess last episode he hinted at being jealous of her having these sexual trysts, but like, it's like, are you actually, or is this a game you're playing with Virginia?
What I'm saying.
And then like, but okay, so then he lies to Nancy, and it's like, okay, but why? He is incredibly difficult to read.
He's very complex.
I don't know.
Right.
He scares me more than anyone else.
Because when he's at the Coats and Keys party in the beginning, he's so psyched about it.
Yeah.
And then at the end, it's like this subtle implosion that he, it's almost like he has this other form of coming out that he has to do, which is everybody has this this coming out of their truth. Like, what is my truth that I'm not telling people? Yeah. And I think he's definitely got something in there that he's not saying. He's even just got this tension in his body. Like when he talks, everything is so measured and controlled and
psycho killer.
That's why he's the scariest.
It reminds me of Silence of the Lambs. Like, no crap, I'm waiting for him to go postal and kill you all. Like, that would be like the biggest.
It doesn't not happen.
But no, there's just something about him that just seems like kind of off-putting. Like, I watch a lot of criminal shows.
But at the same time, he's very like calculated. I just think that everything he says and everything he noted, like he just knows it all. And at first, I mean, last episode we were kind of talking about like we weren't sure if he was asking Virginia questions because he and Nancy had something planned, but now it's clear that Nancy's not in the loop on this one.
He has the plan.
Yeah.
I think this episode solidified that. Like Nancy probably has her own agenda, and Art is probably a part of that. But it appears now that Art has a sub agenda that is like
For sure.
specifically benefiting him
Yeah,
in some way, shape, or form.
Because now they came across all the spy equipment, and Nancy's like
The spy equipment.
the spy, whatever you know,
what
it
would
is
you
spy
call it?
equipment. She wants to get out of there, and then I think that's like a completely new perspective for me, because now we see that like she doesn't really have a true motive that we can see for now, at least.
Right.
But the fact that he wants to stay after knowing that they've been spying on them and all of this, negativity, and no one trusts each other.
He was very adamant about the fact that they need to give him more time.
Yeah.
That and it almost like the panic that he had when she was like, "No, I'm going to say something." When they were in the elevator, it was like he was worried that she would blow their cover of whatever the cover is, because Nancy doesn't seem like she's in the loop on whatever's going on. So I feel like he's up to something.
I definitely
huge.
think so. He's
And I
got something
can't wait.
planned. I'm waiting for it to blow up. Hopefully he doesn't kill anybody.
I think
I know, right? We're leaning.
I think he's gonna chop somebody up. I think that's his real.
I have a prediction
I think that's his real fetish.
Yeah.
Killing people?
Oh, yeah. No, like maybe like
There are people that do that.
Like
Like
necrophiliac's a
serial
real
killers.
thing.
I believe
People are
it.
into some stuff,
Right.
man.
I mean, Green River Killer, he was like killing prostitutes and then having sex with them.
weird.
Yeah.
So
They're all kind of
maybe-
fetishes.
Green River Killer, Art Dreesen.
I'm
It's
pretty
like
sure they're the same
kinda-
person,
yeah.
right? That's you heard it here. I'm kidding.
I mean, at the end of the day, guys, like, we all know that, the show's, like, loosely based on real life, loosely based off a book, but art, can, go into different directions.
Yeah.
So
It's
don't
an
think that my
adaptation.
prediction is far-fetched when I say he's going to start killing people.
Multiple?
I say he's going to at least do 3.
Oh,
3.
Wow.
3 is the lucky number.
Yeah, at least. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
I
a
mean, you
solid
can't
number.
really be a serial killer with just 1 or 2.
That's true.
That's
then
true.
you-
Gotta up the ante.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah, like
I'm
You
really
have something to write a book about when you get to jail.
has something to brag
Right.
about.
All right, not to jump around, guys, but we only have 10 minutes left, and we didn't even get to the juice of
okay,
the episode.
Okay, I have stars on my page
You go.
by things we have not discussed yet.
What's the name?
What's a
I
big
Okay,
think
serial killer, got it.
Got it.
Green
Done,
River
done,
Killer,
done.
got it.
Okay,
I think Libby and Bill.
Yeah,
Libby,
let's
Bill,
do that.
Virginia.
okay, so we kind of already talked a little bit. No, we talked. Did we talk about it before the show? Either way, so we were talking. Don't know when it happened.
Got it.
At some point.
A discussion
About
happened.
Libby's been dropping bombs every single episode this season, and I said it last week. Right? Like, maybe this is why I love Libby this season,
her
because
right
she's
now.
so my girl. Like, we are here. I'm all for
Netflixing
it.
and chilling
Right?
all
Like,
night.
69 and out here. I'm like, Libby, what book are you reading?
I think there's a number for it.
Girlfriend.
Yeah, so Libby and Bill. She's like,
Which originally
allow
she
me.
said the word. She goes, I think there's a number for it. 69? And I remember, like, everyone heard that and was like, oh, that's just, like, a little bit too much. Let's
I
take the number
agree.
out. Everyone gets it.
Yeah.
The look that she
We
gives
see
her,
what
she's
you
like,
did there.
Oh, okay.
She is too
It was
funny.
too good. But while they weren't 69ing and they were actually in the kitchen, I loved how she kind of like breaks Bill down another notch, and she's just like, you were never deeply in love with me. And she kind of goes into talking about what that deep love looks like, what she's noticed that it even is with him and Virginia, which I thought was really, really amazing. And then she drops the bomb of all bombs. It's like she gives her blessing for Bill and Virginia to be
Which
together.
was crazy, and that went against everybody's prediction.
Right,
Not only
I did not
ours,
have
but
that.
all of our viewers in their comments. Nobody saw this coming.
not.
We all thought that
I
she was
secretly-
gonna find out. Everything was gonna pop off. But I don't know. I admire her
I do
for
too. I say,
doing
how
that.
Yeah.
how mature of a person to go, you know what, I get it. Like, I want you to be happy. And not only do I want you to be happy, but I want to be happy. I am comfortable enough and strong enough in myself. Like, I love this line when she said, you know, you left me and I'm fine. And it's like, I always tell that to people when they break up. I'm like, you survived X amount of years before this person. You can only imagine that you were survived that amount of years without that person.
No kidding.
Trying to tell 'em.
So I'm like, I love that she said, you know, you left and I'm fine. And it's like, it's so awesome to see a woman, especially in this time, be like, you know what, I'm
Girl
good.
power.
I'm good.
I just feel like it's such a contrast to the Libby that we seen that had the conversation with Virginia a season ago about how she was so wanting to just keep her marriage together, and she didn't care that there was no passion or no love there. She just really wanted to have her family. And then you see her now in this episode where she's like, no, like, I see now what I'm missing, and I refuse to live my life where I'm not, you know, with someone who's willing to go like above and beyond for me. And she even drops a little bomb about how, you know, she knew from way before they got married when he was in med school that he was capable of loving someone at a deeper level, and it wasn't her. And I was just like, Libby, you've known this since then and you still married this
know.
Well, because she probably wanted to believe that it wasn't true, and she wanted to marry someone and like
every girl in America right now.
But I thought one of the most beautiful moments is when she said, "You came back to me because you realized I couldn't hurt you."
Right.
And
because you don't love me.
And that realization, like, I'm sure for her, it was initially like immense sadness for all the time lost. But then it was sort of like, but now I don't have this fear that it's something else. I understand what it is now. I know that I can move on and even say, like, I want to meet somebody new. You know, and have a new relationship.
there were so many good Instagram quotes that I have to go back and rewatch this episode for because I mean Bill's freaking speech about being a sexual deviant. I was like, I can't write this stuff.
Like you gotta start typing it out.
I was like, I'll Google it later.
Yeah.
That's gonna be
just
a
like the morning caption, like just be like, oh, I'm in bed, and I'm like, oh, sorry, we're all sexual deviants.
This thought just came to me.
It did. Yeah.
Oh God.
It's in my note section.
Right.
Copy and
saving it for later, for a rainy day, you know.
But I am glad that they finally have gotten to this point, because I feel like Bill, he's finally moved on from it appeared he had moved on from Virginia. It looks like he was, because Virginia was trying to get back with Bill, and he was just kind of like, no,
they don't want you, Boo.
Yeah, and I was like, well, good for Bill. Finally, you're like, because she was trying to get him to go to New York, and he was like, no, I think you can do it by yourself. And I'm like, I'm like, thank you, Bill. Thank you for shutting that down.
I know.
But at the end, do you think that he was on board with that hand holding moment? Like,
well, he held it back.
He held it. But then when they go into the room with the press, they're not holding hands.
Well, that's for lots of other reasons too.
Right.
Totally.
They can't be showing people.
Right.
But I mean, I that's the thing that, like, because it was like we saw that moment where it looked like Bill was like, you know what? No, this is an unhealthy relationship, and then you see, oh, he's addicted to Virginia. He's a God.
I'd love to. Once again, it's gonna be an Instagram quote. I loved his speech at AA.
Yeah.
It was poetic. Yeah. Like, you guys are all addicted to alcohol, but me,
I'm addicted to the V.
I'm addicted to the
V. He's addicted to the V.
I can't even finish what I'm about to say. I just thought it was so good. I mean, from his speech to the judge, kind of like sticking up for, in my mind, all humans everywhere, to his AA speech, I just felt like Bill is a totally different character than what I started watching.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody is facing that, like, internal truth of, like, I'm flawed. I have things that are not, quote unquote, normal. But maybe that's what makes me, like, my own person. And if I lean into that, maybe I'll discover that I'm a much happier person by doing that.
Right.
Gee, Nick, do you really think that Virginia's there yet? I still feel like Virginia has she's the only person who I feel like still hasn't gone over that hurdle to realize that her shit stinks.
Well, I mean, if you look at the things that she's done in this season so far, in terms of like lying about, being married, and then going to New York and basically saying like, I need to uphold the idea that this book is so popular, and then I need to uphold the idea that like Bill and I are meant to be together. It's a lot of this like this aggravated tension of everything's falling apart, and if I just hold it together, the house will stay up, and she's in for I think a similar awakening that these other characters.
I hope so. My prediction last week was that Virginia was going to have to like face something crazy before she has her like wake up call, and I still think that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm wondering like what it's gonna take. What it's gonna take for her to change.
Honestly, I think whatever Art has planned will probably have a big. I mean, this is us assuming.
Is he gonna murder Virginia?
I think. Okay, I think he's gonna murder Lester. Because guys. No, he's bugging the place. I'm saying that's why I wrote down. I was like, I think he's gonna murder Lester, and I love Lester, but I'm like, I think Lester's gotta go. I think that Art's gonna. Are you laughing?
Before after he and Foxy get it on.
Yeah, him and Foxy all together. He's gonna murder them together.
On top of each other.
On top of each other. Because,
right.
in horror movies, that's
how
where
that
they always
happens.
die during sex.
In a dirty motel. With
Oh
a
my
bed that
goodness.
vibrates for a quarter.
Stop it! What movie is that from?
I'm sorry.
You just made that up.
You're just very detailed. She said
She's like, it's a movie I'm writing.
Yeah, I guess.
Right?
Yeah, it's just like
working
I
on it.
heard it happened to somebody I know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Like for a friend. I'm asking for a
I don't know.
friend.
Weird. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for that prediction. So, do you want to
Anytime.
cue the other predictions? Do you guys have anything else
Your
besides
AfterBuzz TV prediction.
vibrating beds that take quarters?
Yeah. Yeah, you guys, I still think that something crazy is going to have to happen to
Yeah.
Virginia.
Yep.
I'm still trying to
So
figure
we're
out
talking
what.
murder.
Yeah.
Talking.
No, she's not going to get murdered. That's how.
She can't.
But
She's the main character.
Stab.
One
Just
of
like
the
a little
things-
stab.
One of the things that I did not get a
Murder.
chance to say because we were having way too much fun is that being such a fan of this show, I truly felt like watching this episode, watching Bill and Virginia walk out of the courthouse together, like I could have been satisfied if the show would have
for
ended
sure.
tonight. Which is why I wanted us to do At Last tonight for our theme song because I don't know where we go from here.
Yeah, but something that
Murder.
was too perfect. Like they were holding hands, that was all cute and stuff. But
I wanted to.
It's like in their mind, they
I like
wanted it to
fairy
end there,
tales.
but like it never
Yes.
does,
But
right?
no.
So
Yes.
there's gonna be
But
some.
I think that's why it was a really cool juxtaposition to see him kind of them walk out together and then immediately pan to him being back in AA.
Right.
Yes.
I think that is very
Because
important.
also him being in AA is lying
Right.
to her,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
saying like, he's not saying to her, "I'm addicted to you." He's saying
No,
it to a
I'm
bunch
telling
of other
these
people.
other drunks
Right.
that.
Well, I mean, and
Yeah.
clearly he needs to be in AA for other reasons because
Yeah.
he graduated
Because
AA and immediately went and took
exactly.
drinks.
He's like, if you're pouring, I'm like, honey, you're just like.
Honey, I'm always pouring.
Gosh,
Oh
no.
my
So yeah,
gosh.
but he is growing and changing. So.
I'm really proud of Bill, but I think what Master of Sex is all about is they're never going to give us the happy ending. They're going to give us the story that happens after the fairy tale ending, which is what I think we've seen tonight.
For sure.
Boom. I'm gonna add that to my Instagram quotes.
Nick, any predictions that you have? I don't know if you
Don't slip any
I know,
secrets.
I know.
I don't know. It's
Flip
hard.
all the secrets.
I think that everybody has their own particular truth, and it's about like when do you think we've seen the real truth? You know, like
When art kills 3 people.
exactly.
That's gonna happen.
Yeah. Until we have a red wedding. On
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not gonna be happy.
It ain't over.
God, yeah, don't trust anyone. Everyone you love will die. It'll get Game of Thrones real quick. Good.
You know that's Michelle.
All right, guys. Any final thoughts or predictions before we wrap this up?
No, but I just want to say thank you, Nick. Thank you again for
Yes,
coming.
I'm
Thanks
so
for
happy
having
that you
me.
came.
Gosh.
I feel like this episode was so juicy, and it was nice to hear like your perspective on things. So we appreciate you coming. Thank you.
Always happy to be here.
So where can our viewers follow you at?
I'm on Instagram and Twitter, the Nick Clifford, THE Nick Clifford.
The, not the.
Yeah. Okay.
And Ryan with 2 N's.
Ryan with 2 N's. You can find me on Instagram at Instagram and on Twitter at Ryann Graham.
And if you guys want to see all these awesome quotes that I'm going to be dropping for the next few weeks, you guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Domonique P_ESQ.
Yes, and don't forget to follow me as well at @thereal_O_G. Well, that concludes this week's episode, and we'll see you next week.
Maybe not.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.